A lot of things that I'm going to teach you, you're going to be unable to use. The reason you're going to be unable to use it is because your mind is not prepared to use it. So the things that we're going to be talking about today and tomorrow are really important for your game. But first you have to have the mind that's going to be able to accept it and understand it and remember it and apply it. So why is it that we can't apply tactics in match play? It's because our mind is not right. We're not thinking clearly. We get too emotional and we're not able to perform our best. So being able to block out distractions, being able to block out the fact that you missed 2 serves at 9-9 in the first game, or that Chance somehow got 7 nets and 3 edges in the second game, or the fact that your coach yelled at you, or the fact that this lighting isn't good enough, or whatever thing is distracting you from being able to focus on tactics, you're going to have to be able to let it go. One of the books that I like the best is called With Winning in Mind. I've read the book twice and I've listened to the audio version twice while I'm driving in my car. The reason I like it is because a lot of the things that I've taught in the last 14 years, this book is able to explain 20 times better than I've ever taught it. So I'm just going to read about 3 or 4 pages to you. That way we can all be on the same page moving forward with what's acceptable and unacceptable. So this is chapter 4. It's called The Principles of Mental Management. Gravity is an irrefutable principle of physics. We all feel the pull of the earth on us, and just as there are proven principles of physical motion, there are also proven principles of mental success. The principles of mental management govern how the mind works. These principles are concepts common to winners that have stood the test of time. They work for all people, all the time, and are applicable to sports performance, business success, and personal development. Remember, success is not an accident. Success follows a set course, and these principles are the boundaries of that path. Principle of mental management number 1. Your conscious mind can only concentrate on one thing at a time. Your conscious mind can only concentrate on one thing at a time. If you are picturing something positive, it is impossible at the same time to picture something negative. And if you are picturing a negative thought, you cannot at the same time think positively. This is good news because it is impossible to picture playing well and playing poorly at the same time. You're either picturing something that will help you or something that will hurt you. The human mind has the capacity to control thoughts for short periods of time by personal will alone, and what we picture is critical. Now, when I was going from table to table watching, by the expression on your face, I'm trying to put in my mind what you're picturing in your mind. And for some of you, it was picturing pretty good, and others of you, it was picturing pretty bad. Okay, so what are we going to choose to focus our attention on? I went to one table, and I said, how's your mindset? And the person, we were about 8 minutes into the drill. The person said, well, I can't have a good mindset because I haven't won a single point in 8 minutes. But actually, I had seen that player win several points, but yet they weren't picturing that. They were choosing to picture the negative. They were choosing to always picture those points that they were losing. We're going to continue. I remember a baseball coach telling me, whatever you do, Basham, don't strike out. What do you picture when you hear don't strike out? I picture striking out. It is impossible to think about hitting the ball if you're picturing striking out. In golf, for example, it is impossible for you to concentrate on the process of hitting the shot you want and thinking about outcome at the same time. If your thoughts are centered on score or where you are on the leaderboard, your performance will suffer. You must keep your mental picture centered on performing well for that shot. One way to apply a principle is to formulate and use an action statement or affirmation. This statement, written in the first person present tense, describes the action taken when applying the principle. Action statement for principle number 1. I take control of what I picture, choosing to think about what I want to create in my life. What you say is not important. What you cause yourself and others to picture is crucial. This is a fundamental principle of successful communication. What you actually say is not as important as the image your words convey. When your coach says, whatever you do, Basham, don't strike out, I picture striking out. He had set me up for failure by the way he talked to me. If he had said, go strike out, it would have the same effect on me. Instead, he should have said, Basham, just hit the ball. Action statement for principle number 2. I always give myself commands in a positive way. I remind myself that what others are picturing as a result of hearing me speak is crucial to proper understanding. The subconscious mind is the source of all mental power. When you picture anything, piano lessons, or your first day on the golf course, you have a lot of things to think about because nothing is automated in the beginning and good performance seems difficult. Most things, such as playing music or sports, require you to do many things at the same time. Because the conscious mind can only do one thing at a time, first experiences, and for many of you, this is first experiences. First experiences with forehand flip or backhand loop or whatever are very frustrating. The conscious mind needs assistance, which it gets from a second mental process called subconscious mind. After that first day of piano lessons, things get a little easier as you develop skills through practice. Skill is defined as doing something consciously long enough for the process to become automated by the subconscious mind. That's why I told you guys, you're not going to get it, but at least if you have it in your mind, you understand it, and you're patient and persistent, you will get it in the future weeks and months and years. Unlike the conscious mind, the subconscious mind can do many things at once. In fact, your brain is like a huge computer. Just how many separate functions can be handled in the subconscious simultaneously is hard to measure, but it may be in the billions. Your subconscious mind can perform a great number of activities simultaneously, and that is why we need to perform in the subconscious mode rather than the conscious. It is vastly more powerful. A rifle shooter who has subconscious trigger control activates the trigger when the sights are aligned without moving the rifle. When a shooter consciously activates the trigger, it is probable that the rifle will move, thereby throwing off the shot. Elite gymnasts make their very difficult sport look easy. If you ever tried to pull yourself up on the rings, you immediately gain a great deal of respect for the strength needed to be a gymnast. Their skill comes from years of training. The routines are so well learned that they are subconsciously automated. So, what in the world are we talking about here? Basically, we jumped into chapter 4 of the book, and there's 3 elements of the mental game. Element number 1 is the conscious mind. What's the conscious mind, Sarah? Yeah, you have to think about it. A lot of times when you're developing a new skill like you guys are doing, that's the conscious mind. That's you consciously saying, Coach Chance told me to position my feet here, to hit the ball like this. It takes conscious mind to learn a new skill. What's the subconscious mind, Sarah? Don't have to think about it, right? So when you start playing good is when you've done the skill so many times that it becomes automated and you're able to do it subconsciously. So that's the number 1 question that people keep asking is, how long until I can use these skills effectively? When it becomes subconscious, then you're going to be able to use it. When somebody pushes long to Coach Chance's forehand, do you really think that he thinks, now which foot do I move first? Am I bending my knees? Oh, is my grip correct? All right, now I'm getting there. Now where's my racket going to start? What's the timing going to be like? How's the spin going to... No, everything is automated, and that's what you want to get. And then the third aspect of the mental game is the self-image. Okay, what's the self-image, Sarah? What you think about yourself. So that player that I asked earlier, like, how you doing? And the player said, I haven't won a single point in 8 minutes, okay? That's the subconscious mind. I mean, that's the self-image, tearing yourself down. And if your self-image is low, it's hard to learn new skills. It's hard for it ever to become automated. And it's hard for you to continue working hard because you think you're a trash player, okay? So, what am I expecting from you guys? Now, why did I read these few pages? Number 1, I want to get on the same page with all of you, saying when we're learning a new skill, learning a new variation to the skill, or learning anything new, it takes conscious effort. It takes listening to the coach. It takes writing notes down. It takes memorizing it. It takes repetition in your mind. How long does it take before it gets automated? Usually 30 to 90 days, okay? After that point, if you've programmed yourself correctly and you've done it repeatedly in practice and in matches, it will become easier because now your body does it automatically. They call it paralysis by analysis, that for the first 30 to 90 days, when you're learning a new skill, your body almost feels paralyzed, that you literally can't do it. So I want you guys to be patient and persistent. Patient, realizing that these skills take time to develop, but persistent, realizing that after 30 to 90 days, when you have repeated that backhand loop, or that backhand flip, or that forehand block, or that backhand counter loop, or whatever it may be, it's going to get easier and easier for you, okay? Once the skills become automated, then the tactics become more in play. So even though we're working on tactics, I realize that some of you aren't quite there. So when we talk this afternoon about targeting here, and watching where they're going, and targeting here, and targeting here, you're like, hold on, I don't even know how to backhand loop, and you want me to play here, and here, and here? So I want you to be patient with yourself, realizing that we have players that are literally ranging from about 100 level to about 2600 level. And so we're trying to do all-encompassing subjects, but you have to realize that some people are at different stages, and you got to be patient with yourself. Most of you, I feel like, have done a great job with having a good perspective. It's just today and tomorrow, things are going to get a little bit complicated, and I want you to realize, hey, maybe I'm not going to fully get it. That's because I'm still in the conscious stage, still consciously trying to learn how to push or how to loop. For others of you, it's going to make a lot more sense because your strokes are already automated. All right, before we begin, any questions on what I talked about here? Andrew, you got a good one? Oh, there we go. Adam's got a good one.
Does muscle memory play into...
Yeah, muscle memory and playing in the subconscious are the same. So once you've done a motion repeatedly, it can be good or bad. If it was the wrong motion, it's going to be hard to relearn it. If it's a good motion, then you just let yourself just go. Okay? Yes, Scott.
One thing on that, if you have muscle memory that's bad,
Yes.
if you think about learning if it's a specific shot, you think about learning it as if it's a completely different shot, even though it's not.
Yep.
If you think about, if you start off learning it as if it's a completely different shot in your mind, that doesn't help. It doesn't unlearn the bad motion, but it pushes you toward the good motion.
Yes. And there is hope for those of you who have learned all the strokes completely wrong. There is hope. I think I told some of you yesterday that my first table tennis coach said, okay, the table is here. You're going to stand with your body to the side, put your racket between your legs, and go straight toward the ceiling like this. And for literally the first 2 years, that's how I looped, okay? So obviously there's some things that have changed. So if I can change multiple times in different years of my game, I'm sure you guys can change as well. So it is possible, whether you're a kid or adult, to make changes in your game. All right, any other questions? Yes, Leslie. Yeah, that is a great thing. And my wife actually asked me the same thing, because she came to a class and she's like, wow, there's a lot of feedback and I need to do this, I need to do that. Typically, for one stroke, focusing on one correction at a time is good. If you get multiple advice from different coaches, I'm not saying it's bad, but usually you should focus on one thing for that stroke, okay? So if we're doing different things, let's say we're playing points, and you want to work on getting more spin on your push on serve return, you can focus on that. But if you also want to work on keeping your own serve lower, you can also focus on that. Some things are really, really helpful to think about during matches and actually make you play better, and some things will actually make you play worse. So the general reminder to bend your knees, stand your toes, and keep moving your feet, that'll actually make you play better. But if you're trying to do something very, very, very specific, like change your grip, or change your racket starting position, or change your balance, that's when things get a little bit messy. But I want you guys to have a long-term perspective. If you have a long-term perspective and you go out and you lose to Laura tonight, you're not just going to hang it up and say, I quit, I'm never playing this game again, right? But if you have a long-term perspective, you're like, yeah, I lost to Laura, but I understand some of the things I did well, I understand some of the things I need to improve, and I'm going to go back, I'm going to train, and maybe I'll beat her next week or the week after or the week after. Right, Laura? And then Laura is going to quit because you beat her. All right, guys. Head out here. We're going to start our warm-ups out here at tables 5, 6, 7, and 8.